content of this podcast is produced for entertainment purposes only and is for informational and educational use. It does not constitute financial or investment advice. You should not make any financial decisions based on the information provided without consulting a qualified professional. All opinions expressed are solely those of the host and guest and do not reflect the views of any company or organization. The hosts and or guests may currently own, have previously owned, or intend to own securities discussed in the content. The content produced here belongs to Daniel Andreev of 18 Degree Journal and cannot be reproduced or used without prior permission. We do not wish for this content to be used for AI training and do not give such permissions. Memo: 100-year holding. I was recently posed a quite an interesting question. If you could own only one business for the next 100 years at any valuation, what would it be and why? And, it made me think about this hypothetical situation. If markets are closed for 100 years, I have absolutely no control of selling it or moving it. What would I choose? And different frameworks came to mind about how to think about this question and what truly needs to be prioritized. I thought about owning land or utilities, as no matter what, they'll either be worth something or they'll yield something through the tenure of the asset. I went through important infrastructures, or perhaps through world-dependent techs. But my conclusion is that I should focus on the fact of preserving capital. Buffett's 2 rules, right? So I started thinking about what realistically would need to be alive for the next 100 years. And just for context, the Dow doesn't even have a single company that it had 100 years ago. The oldest would be Procter & Gamble, and that was added in 1932. So close, but not quite. So my first intuition walked me down towards payment rails, like Visa or MasterCard. Even though the technological stack is constantly in flux, in North America at least, it has infiltrated consumer habits, payments, and credits and rewards, card penetration, etc. However, this business could be changed on the whim of politics. The unit economics ensures that all interest rates risk are charged to the distributor banks. But if the Fed or other central banks infiltrate CBDCs, there's enough risk of disruption that I would think in 100 years is simply too long to pay that, nothing can be disrupted. My apologies. I consider the railroads of North America. They have major consolidated players, natural moats, but not amazing returns due to the necessary capex to keep infrastructure running, and the risks of labor unions are always around the corner. Again, they could merge, consolidate, or operate unprofitably enough to cause the company serious issues over such a long time frame. The fab companies such as Samsung and TSMC were also an idea, but again, the game of capex resurfaces. The business model requires constant pressures to spend, and one misjudgment could create a technological cycle that could ruin the business down. The relentless need to stay at the cutting edge makes 100 years feel a little bit impossibly wrong. My next intuition was maybe to think of the sin companies such as tobacco, lotteries, and defense companies that are very likely to stay. But to save you all the monologue, the conclusion again was that the government's mood can again destroy these businesses. Infrastructure and technology companies are always up for disruption, and they will have to spend constantly to stay relevant. And I don't think what evolution of the business is worthwhile to hold. So after much deliberation, my answer will be rather boring. The Swiss National Bank. I'm aware that the Swiss National Bank is available as a stock on the Swiss exchange under the ticker SNVN. Your returns, of course, are limited, effectively a simple bond-like return, but you have one of the most stable cultural institutions with constant payments and, in my eyes, near zero risk of default. The important thing is, in 100 years, you will still likely own something. Yes, I'm largely overlooking the effects of inflation and, political pressures that could be in Switzerland and geopolitical situation. But it seems through this experiment, these are some of the most stable variables we can presume. So in 100 years, I'd rather own something boring that survives and chase the excitement of businesses that might not. Through this experiment, if we change the time frame a little bit, my answer will definitely change. Hopefully you enjoyed this mini memo. Until next time, cheers.